Have you noticed what's happening in our world today? People talk about ghosting, about short-lived flings, and about how modern dating has become a place where commitment feels almost extinct. We live in an age that celebrates personal freedom, yet loneliness has never been higher. Among all these modern relationship dynamics, there's one pattern that cuts deeper than most: the relationship with an avoidant partner. And there's a moment in that relationship that feels almost surreal, when you think you've finally broken free. You've done the hard work, you've healed, you've stopped caring. And then, suddenly, they come back. Not with a casual hello, but with the sweetness you always dreamed of. Care, vulnerability, promises of a future. You wonder, is this what I've been waiting for? Have they finally changed? The truth is, no. This is one of the most powerful psychological maneuvers avoidants use. The phantom return, a dramatic comeback that feels real, but is actually a panic response to the fear of losing you. In today's video, we're going to break this down: why it happens, why it feels so convincing, and most importantly, how to protect the emotional freedom you've worked so hard to achieve. Stay with me until the end, because what you'll learn today could save you from repeating the most painful cycle of your life. And don't forget to subscribe for more insights on attachment dynamics and building healthy, secure relationships. Do you remember the last time you tried to let go of someone you loved so deeply it drained you? Maybe you spent months filled with hope, only to be met with cold silence. You stayed up late waiting for a message that never came, woke up to mornings heavy with doubt, wondering what you did wrong. And then, after countless cycles of giving and hurting, you told yourself, enough, I can't keep living like this. You began your healing journey. You stopped checking your phone every 5 minutes. You stopped scrolling through old conversations. You stopped making excuses for behaviors that broke your heart. You started focusing on work, meeting friends, reclaiming the freedom you had forgotten. And one day, you realized you had truly let go. No more emotional storms, no more craving validation. That moment felt like freedom. But then, just when you thought you were free, it happens. A notification lights up your screen. I miss you. I've never shared this with anyone, but you're the only person I trust. I've been thinking about our future. Your heart clenches. Memories flood back. Suddenly, the person you once dreamed would change is saying all the words you longed to hear. You ask yourself, is this the moment I prayed for? Did they finally realize my worth? This is the phantom return, a comeback that feels magical but hides a dangerous truth. It's not just a random text. It's a return designed to hit the deepest wounds you carry, to awaken the dreams you bury. Why does this happen? To understand, you have to look at the nature of avoidant attachment. Avoidants build a wall of independence around themselves. Intimacy feels threatening, like losing control, like risking pain. Yet here's the paradox. They also don't want to be abandoned. For them, maintaining a safe distance while keeping you in orbit is ideal. As long as you still care, still react, still hope, they feel secure. They can withdraw, knowing you'll wait. But when your energy shifts, when you truly let go, they sense it. And the moment they realize you're no longer their anchor, their brain enters panic mode. This isn't mature love. It's a fear-driven response to losing control. So they come back, not with half-hearted effort, but as the version you always wished for, vulnerable, attentive, speaking about a future. And this sudden transformation is what shakes you. You think, they've changed. I was wrong to leave. This is my second chance. But the cruel truth is, this isn't real change. This is the phantom return, a reaction born from fear, not growth. It's not the result of therapy, self-awareness, or a genuine ability to sustain intimacy. And the most dangerous part? It taps into your deepest belief that love must be earned through pain. You've heard the phrase, people only value what they're about to lose. Phantom return is a distorted version of that. The avoidant doesn't truly value you now. They're just trying to restore their sense of safety. And once they feel you're back in orbit, the cycle resumes. Distance, withdrawal, coldness. This is why so many people stay trapped for years. Hope, disappointment, letting go, dramatic return, heartbreak again. Each round erodes your self-trust, weakens your boundaries, and convinces you that you're never enough unless you hold on. The phantom return isn't just an act. It's an unconscious strategy, a defense mechanism, but for you, it becomes the most ruthless trap. Because it strikes when you're strongest, when you think you've finally won, and if you don't see it for what it is, you risk losing all the freedom you fought so hard to reclaim. See, their return isn't random. It's driven by a deep psychological mechanism, one that, if you don't understand, will make you believe this is love. But the truth is the exact opposite. To avoid the trap, we need to strip away the mask and look at what's really happening in an avoidance mind the moment you stop caring. Why does it happen when you let go? Avoidants have an incredibly sensitive, emotional radar. They don't need words, they can sense how much you're investing. As long as you react to their mixed signals, as long as their silence still keeps you awake, they feel safe. They have the power, and that control feels secure. But when your energy changes, their world shifts. You stop checking your phone, stop justifying their coldness, stop chasing. For you, it's healing. For them, it's a 5-alarm fire. They realize, my anchor is slipping away. In their mind, you aren't just a partner, you're their constant source of validation. Even when they acted distant, they relied on knowing you'd be there. And when that anchor disappears, their brain flips into abandonment panic mode. This isn't love, it's a trauma response. Here's the truth. Their return isn't fueled by a deep realization of your worth or a sudden commitment to growth. It's a survival response triggered by fear, not love. Psychologists call this a trauma response, a defense mechanism activated when someone feels abandoned or out of control. Avoidants don't suddenly develop intimacy skills. They don't magically become secure partners. What they want in that moment is to restore the familiar dynamic where they hold the power and you remain available. What does research say? Picture this. London, late 1967. In a quiet office filled with books and papers, a man named John Bowlby is studying something almost no one else is paying attention to: human attachment. He wasn't looking at love songs or romantic ideals, he was looking at survival. Bowlby had spent years observing children separated from their parents during wartime, and he noticed something profound. When a child senses the threat of losing their caregiver, their brain launches an intense, almost primal response to bring that person back. This wasn't manipulation, it wasn't weakness, it was biology, because connection equals survival. In 1969, Bowlby published his groundbreaking work Attachment and Loss, revealing, humans have an attachment system that activates when they sense a threat of losing connection. And here's the key: that system doesn't disappear when we grow up. It stays with us, shaping how we love, how we fear, and how we react when someone pulls away. Fast forward to 2016. Two leading researchers, Mario Mikulincer and Philip Shaver, wanted to dive deeper. They asked, what happens inside the mind of an avoidant partner when their source of validation suddenly withdraws? Through a series of studies, they found something striking. When avoidants feel their secure base slipping away, the fear of abandonment becomes so powerful, it overrides their usual fear of intimacy. Mikulincer and Shaver wrote, when a source of validation is threatened, the fear of abandonment can override the fear of closeness that defines avoidance. This explains why someone who once seemed cold and distant can suddenly return with warmth, affection, and even promises of a future together. To you, it looks like love finally winning. But in reality, it's not growth. It's a crisis response, a desperate move to calm the panic triggered inside when they sense, I'm about to lose my anchor. All Louis. From a scientific lens, the phantom return isn't a love story, it's a neurochemical storm, fueled by the ancient attachment system that Bowlby uncovered more than 50 years ago. The neuroscience of phantom return. When their brain senses the threat of losing you, the amygdala, the fear center, floods their system with alarms. Cortisol spikes, adrenaline kicks in, their body screams, do something now. So they do. They reach out, not to build lasting intimacy, but to kill the feeling of panic. Once you come back, relief washes over them, crisis averted. And then, like a rubber band, they snap back to baseline, distant, detached, guarded. This is why phantom returns are always temporary. They're not built on true change. Why does it fool you so easily? First, it happens at your strongest moment when you think you're free. That shock makes you doubt yourself. Did I give up too soon? Second, their comeback targets everything you once begged for: affection, vulnerability, commitment. That precision convinces you it's real. Third, your brain gets hooked. After months of emotional starvation, that sudden flood of attention sends dopamine surging. It feels like light after darkness. But it's not love, it's trauma bonding, reinforced by the starve reward cycle they created before. When their panic meets your core beliefs, phantom return is dangerous because it collides with a hidden belief many of us carry. True love must be fought for. That belief turns their return into a twisted fairy tale. You think you're the hero who endured trials to earn the reward, but really, you're stepping back into the same loop, only this time the addiction runs deeper. The truth you must face: phantom return isn't proof they love you more now. It's proof their fear of losing you just spiked. And when that fear fades, so does their effort. Then you're left shattered, harder to heal, because you believed they'd changed. Now you understand the mechanism behind the phantom return, that it's not a miracle of love, but a survival response triggered by fear. But here's the bigger question. Why is it considered the cruelest trap of all? Because it doesn't just play with your emotions. It strikes at the very moment you're most vulnerable, when you've become your strongest. Imagine the journey you've been on. You fought hard to escape a relationship full of silent treatments and broken promises. You read books on healing. You wrote pages in your journal, learning to let go. You practiced breathing through the waves of longing. You told yourself, "I've made it. I've won this battle." And then suddenly, they return. Not as the distant, detached person you remember, but as the dream version you once prayed for. They say the words you thought they'd never say. "I've been thinking a lot. I realize you're the only one who truly gets me. I want us to build a future together." Your heart skips, not because you love them the same way, but because those words awaken your deepest hope that maybe, just maybe, all your pain finally meant something. The dangerous illusion. Is this my reward? Your brain spins a story. Maybe this is the reward for my patience. Maybe I gave up too soon. You recall every article that said people can change. Every movie where the hero returns just in time. Suddenly, their comeback feels like a romantic ending. But the brutal truth? This isn't your reward. It's a punishment for your progress. Because if you believe this illusion and go back, the cost will be devastating. Why is this the most ruthless trap? Because it destroys the foundation you spent months, maybe years building, your trust in yourself. You rebuilt your self-esteem. You learned not to depend on them for validation. You became strong. And the phantom return appears right when you're standing on that new ground, pulling you back into a spiral of self-doubt. Was I wrong? Was I too impatient? Am I the quitter in a love that just needed more time? Once those questions take hold, your hard-won confidence starts to crumble. And worse, if you go back, you teach them a dangerous lesson. Just wait until they let go, then come back. It works. Case study 1. Sarah and the 3-year cycle. Sarah, 34, a marketing professional, shared in therapy. It took me nearly a year to leave him. He never talked about the future, always avoided deep conversations. When I finally stopped texting, he disappeared for 6 months. I was feeling peaceful, even dating someone new. Then one day, he texted, "I realize no one cares for me like you do. I want to change." Sarah believed it was her second chance. She went back, silencing her doubts, hoping this time would be different. 6 months later, it wasn't. The same withdrawal, the same silence. It hurt 10 times worse because I truly believed he had changed. I didn't just lose him again, I lost my trust in myself. When the phantom return happens, your brain floods with dopamine. Why? Because you've just emerged from an emotional famine. After months of coldness, the sudden feast of affection feels like winning the lottery. This makes the return feel far more valuable than it is. But like any high, it fades. Once they feel safe again, their old patterns return, and you're back in withdrawal worse than before. Are they coming back for you or for themselves? This is the question that matters. If they're truly coming back for love, you'll see evidence of real growth, therapy, accountability, new behaviors that last over time. But most phantom returns lack this. They're full of promises and emotion but no foundation. They're not coming back to build a healthy love. They're coming back to silence their fear. And once that fear subsides, they'll retreat to who they were before. The cruel outcome of believing the illusion: every time you give another chance, you lose more. Your time, your self-respect, your ability to trust your judgment. This cycle convinces you that love means enduring endless pain. It traps you in a narrative where suffering is proof of devotion. But it's not love, it's bondage. The phantom return is ruthless because it hijacks your strongest moment and turns it into your greatest vulnerability. It makes you question everything you've worked for. And if you can't see the trap, you'll end up right back where you started or worse. So how do you spot it early? What signs reveal that this isn't real change? That's exactly what we'll cover next. And then, when doubt starts to creep in, you begin to search for clarity. Is this return real? Or am I just repeating an old pattern? Am I falling into a trap set by my own emotions? If you've ever been pulled in by a phantom return, you'll recognize that feeling, that strange tension between hope and intuition. Something feels off, but the sweet words and tender gestures make it hard to walk away. And it's exactly in this moment that recognizing the signs of a phantom return becomes your only compass to stay grounded. The first and most common sign is a sudden shift in behavior, precisely when you've stopped caring, and it targets exactly what you once begged for. This person may have previously avoided every serious conversation, refused to talk about the future, distanced themselves when you needed closeness. But now, out of nowhere, they're texting at midnight, sharing dreams of living together, getting married, raising kids. These words aren't just sweet, they are crafted to strike directly at the emotional scars you carry. They know what you once longed for, and now they're using those exact things as bait. It might feel romantic, but remember, real change rarely arrives in such a perfectly timed and polished package. No one truly growing wakes up one morning coincidentally right after you pulled away and says, "I've figured it all out." Real growth is slow, awkward, and often inconvenient. It doesn't neatly align with your unmet desires. It doesn't feel like a wish list come true. If someone suddenly becomes everything you need without any visible process of transformation, that's your first red flag, phantom return. The second sign, they take no real responsibility for their past behavior. Watch carefully. They come back and talk endlessly about their current emotions. They miss you, they love you, they can't imagine life without you. But they avoid discussing how they hurt you before. There's no genuine apology, no deep explanation for why they behaved the way they did. And most importantly, no understanding of the emotional damage they caused. Someone who's emotionally mature might say, "I understand why you had to leave. I know I hurt you when I wasn't there for you, and I've been working on that." But a phantom return usually sounds like, "I realized I can't live without you. You're everything to me." It sounds emotional, but it lacks depth. Saying, "I love you," isn't the same as being willing to repair the damage done. The third and most critical sign, there's no visible proof of sustainable change. A person who's truly changing will show evidence of an inner journey: therapy, self-reflection, reading, solitude, accountability, and all of that takes time. Real growth does not happen overnight, especially not right after you've stopped responding. If they return just 2-3 weeks after you've gone silent, and they've shown no signs of doing deep inner work beforehand, then you're not seeing growth. You're seeing panic. Ask yourself, what have they done during our time apart to truly grow and heal? If the answer is almost nothing, and yet they insist they've changed, you're looking at a phantom return. The golden rule: real growth is slow and consistent. It never arrives the moment someone feels like they're losing you. Etch that sentence into your heart. It is your shield against sweet illusions that sound good but are hollow. Real change, especially in someone with avoidant attachment, is a long, uncomfortable process that doesn't begin just because they're afraid of losing you. If they suddenly become the best version of themselves right when you pull away, it's not growth. It's reaction. And once the panic passes, they'll slide back to who they were before. This isn't about judging them. It's about protecting you from someone who's been exactly where you are, and from the stories of thousands who've lived this same cycle. If you're confused by their sudden return, if you don't know whether to believe in this version of them, use these signs as your filter. Not to shame them, but to safeguard the journey you've fought so hard for. Because the real question isn't how sweet their words are when they want you back, it's whether they'll still show up when the intensity fades and love becomes steady and boring and real. Now that you've learned how to recognize the signs of a phantom return, you may feel more alert, less likely to be swept away by sweet words. But awareness alone isn't enough, because what follows a phantom return isn't just a stream of promises, it's an emotional war inside you. And in that moment, you need more than clarity, you need a strategy. So how do you protect yourself and hold on to the emotional freedom you fought so hard to earn? How do you stop yourself from falling back into the very loop you escaped? The answer lies in becoming an observer of yourself, not just a reactor to them. The first thing you must do is to step back and look at the entire journey, not just their current behavior. When they return with vulnerability and affection, you'll be tempted to believe them. But ask yourself, what has their overall pattern in this relationship been? Have they been consistent? How have they hurt me before? How many times have they promised change but delivered the same? Phantom returns often make you forget the past, as if you're seeing through a lens fogged by emotion. But if you dare to look clearly, you'll notice this isn't something new, it's a repeat performance, only dressed up more carefully. Then remind yourself of a fundamental truth. True change never comes from the fear of losing you. True change comes from a deliberate, self-driven healing process. If they haven't done the work, haven't gone to therapy, haven't confronted their own fear of intimacy, haven't committed to understanding their emotional blind spots, then what they're doing now is a panic reaction, not a breakthrough. And you are not responsible for being the person that inspires their healing by returning. No one should be loved because they're changing for you. You deserve someone who's done that work already because they respect themselves, not just because you walked away. Next, you have to maintain your boundaries and standards, even in the face of their best version. If you've previously accepted that your emotional needs weren't being met, if you've admitted that the relationship drained you, then you don't owe them a rewrite just because they're being nice for a few weeks. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. Boundaries are gates they open only for those who are capable and willing to enter your world with consistency and care. And someone who only shows up when you're leaving and retreats again once you stay doesn't deserve access through that gate. Holding your boundaries will hurt, but it's also the deepest form of self-love. Because every time you say no to something that once broke you, you're saying yes to the version of yourself that is stronger and freer. And you don't have to do this alone. In the moments when you're most vulnerable to being pulled back, you need support. Reach out to a friend who witnessed your pain. Ask them to remind you why you left. If you have access, speak to a therapist. They won't judge you, but they will help you see the emotional patterns repeating in your life. Because the truth is, when an avoidant returns, you're likely to be emotionally triggered, and in that state, you can't always trust your feelings. That's why having someone outside the story help you stay grounded is critical. Because in that moment, you're not just confronting their return, you're confronting a part of yourself that still believes, I'm only lovable when they come back. Finally, I want you to hold on to this. This is the truth this entire video has been building toward. The phantom return is not evidence that they've changed. It is evidence that you're getting closer to real healing. When they come back, it's not because you did something wrong. They come back because you finally did something right. You pulled your energy back. You stopped sacrificing yourself. You started choosing you. Their return is not a miracle. It's a final test, a challenge asking, have you really crossed that threshold? Or is there still a part of you willing to shrink again to be chosen? And if you can pass that test, you don't just protect your emotional freedom, you begin to build an internal compass, a system that helps you recognize what secure, steady love looks like. In the final part of this journey, we'll zoom out and look at the full picture, why recognizing the phantom return is a turning point, and how you can move forward into healing with clarity, strength, and power, never again held hostage by someone else's chaos. And now, as you've seen the full mechanics of the phantom return from neuroscience to subconscious patterns, there's a deeper truth you can no longer ignore. The danger isn't just that they came back. The danger is that part of you still wanted them to. And this is where the real work begins, not in resisting them, but in turning inward and healing the parts of you that still seek their return. You can block them, you can ignore the messages, but if somewhere inside, you still hope they mean it this time, if your body still trembles at the thought of, maybe this time it's real, then the cycle isn't broken, it's just gone underground. And that's exactly where Dr. Nicole Lapira's best-selling book, How to Do the Work, becomes a powerful inner guide. Dr. Lepira writes, "You cannot build a healthy relationship from a wounded self." This sentence echoes deeply for anyone who's ever been caught in a phantom return. Because the truth is, if you're still emotionally hooked by their comeback, if your nervous system lights up, if your thoughts race, if you're telling yourself, maybe we'll get it right this time, it's not just their manipulation at play. It's the unhealed child within you, still longing to be chosen. In her book, Dr. LaPera explains that recurring patterns in love, especially the tendency to be drawn to avoidant or emotionally unavailable partners, stem not from conscious choice, but from unconscious wounding stored deep in the nervous system. It's your subconscious reenacting the emotional blueprint you were given in childhood. So when someone who once ignored or rejected you suddenly returns with affection and promises, your inner child hears something else entirely. They finally see me. I was worth coming back for. Dr. LaPera calls this inner child reactivation, and it's the very reason why even smart, aware, grounded people find themselves emotionally pulled back into the same dynamic. You're not reacting as an adult, you're reacting as a child trying to rewrite the abandonment story. This is also why, even after escaping a phantom return, many people struggle to move into healthy relationships. Safe love often feels boring. Stable love lacks the chaos your nervous system associates with intimacy. It's not that you like drama. It's that your brain has equated unpredictability with connection. Dr. LaPera guides readers back to radical self-responsibility. She doesn't villainize avoidant partners, but she also doesn't romanticize them. She teaches that your real power lies not in changing them, but in understanding why you keep choosing them. Ask yourself, who taught me what love is supposed to feel like? Who made me feel I had to earn affection to be seen? Am I still trying to fix a childhood wound through my adult relationships? One of the most transformative parts of how to do the work is when Dr. LaPera dives into the nervous system and survival patterns. She explains that the intense emotional responses we have during a phantom return, everything from butterflies to panic, is not chemistry or intuition, but often a stress response from a dysregulated nervous system. That means if you want to break the cycle, you can't just change your behavior. You have to repattern your entire emotional system, starting from how you speak to yourself, how you feel safe in your body, how you respond to emotional closeness, and how you choose who to open your heart to. In this video, we've spent a lot of time talking about them, about their return, their manipulation, their inconsistency. But healing never truly begins with them. Healing begins with you. You, the one who once shrank just to be loved. You, the one who sacrificed your boundaries to keep someone from leaving. You, the one who believed your worth was tied to whether they came back. Dr. LaPera writes, "We are not broken, we are patterned, and patterns can be reprogrammed." And that is the most hopeful truth of all. There is nothing wrong with you. You weren't weak for going back. You weren't foolish for believing them. You were simply living out unconscious programming that was never yours to begin with. But now that you see it, you get to choose differently. You can choose rest over chasing. You can choose to observe your emotions instead of reacting to them. You can choose to sit with your inner child and say, "This time, we won't wait for them to return to feel worthy. This time, we choose ourselves first and fully." If you're looking for a book that doesn't just talk about healing but shows you how to actually do it step by step, grounded in science, and full of compassion, start with How to Do the Work by Dr. Nicole LaPera. It's not just a book, it's a mirror, it's a guide, it's the work. Perhaps the most painful part of a phantom return isn't the disappointment, it's the way it makes you doubt yourself. Even after everything you've already overcome, you let go, you healed, you grew strong. And then just like that, a sweet message, a familiar look, a sudden return shakes your foundation. Not because you're foolish, but because you're human with emotions, memories, and a heart that once loved deeply. But hear this clearly. Not going back is not cruelty. Not going back is not bitterness. Not going back is proof that you have grown. There is a kind of strength that doesn't shout. It's quiet, steady, rooted. It's the strength of choosing not to return, not out of anger, but out of deep knowing that you deserve better. Healing is not a straight line. There will be moments of doubt, temptation, and emotional noise. But what sets you apart now is this. You no longer act from your wound. You're learning to sit with the feeling instead of reacting to it. You're learning to breathe through the urges to go back. You're learning to place a hand on your heart and whisper, "I'm here with myself," and that is enough. You don't need someone's return to validate your worth. You don't need a happy ending to prove you were worthy of love. Because you have always been worthy, even when they didn't see it, even when they walked away, even when you didn't yet believe it yourself. The phantom return is not a romantic twist. It's a final test. A test from life, from your soul, from your nervous system, to see if you've truly left the old pattern behind. And when you pass this test, you don't just keep your emotional freedom, you unlock the door to an entirely new kind of love, where affection doesn't come with anxiety, where attachment isn't built on absence, where love helps you expand, not shrink. And if you're standing on that razor's edge right now, between going back or moving forward, let me leave you with this. Not every closed door is a loss. Some doors close, so you can finally hear the sound of your own soul again. If this video spoke to your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to support this work. And join me on this healing path toward building conscious, emotionally safe, and secure relationships. We are not just here to escape pain. We are here to choose truth from the inside out. We are here to unlearn the story that says love must hurt to be real. We are here to learn what safe love actually feels like. Thank you for staying until the end. Remember, you deserve a love that never makes you question your worth again. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll talk about what real secure love looks like and how to recognize it when it finally arrives.